Had the roommate from hell, and couldn't get rid of her, so I made living with me as miserable as possible. This happened in 2008 to 2009, but I thought this community would appreciate the story. In 2008, I had just left my husband. I caught him cheating multiple times, and I was just over it. A new girl, we will call her Amy, started at my job, and we made a fast friendship. I was in the middle of packing up and moving out of my house. I needed a roommate for a new apartment I was looking at because my wages weren't going to pay the bills. So we moved in together and lived peacefully together for a while. I was moving on with my life. I had gotten better paying job, was spending time with my friends, and I felt okay with life at the time. At the time I was 25, single, and not looking for anything serious, so I had a FWB who would stop over a few times a week. Amy was cool with it on the surface. It did not affect her in any way. My friend didn't hang out at our place. He didn't eat at our place. He didn't use our household supplies. My relationship with him affected her exactly 0%, but I guess she was a little green about the fact that I was getting some attention and she was not. She would flirt with him, go visit him where he worked, etc., but he absolutely not interested in her. This is where things started to go downhill. For context, she had been married a few times, she was 13 years older than me, and the dads had full custody of their respective kids. She was dating someone, but he was already in a relationship, so he wasn't about to commit to anything besides stopping by for 30 minutes after he worked the night shift every day. I tried to point out all the red flags, but she was convinced it was love. This dude used to hit on me constantly in front of her. He was very open about being in a committed relationship with his girlfriend, so I have no idea why Amy thought this was going anywhere. After a few months, I met someone I wanted to be serious with, so we started dating. We will call the guy Tom. Tom and I got serious pretty fast. He was living in a horrible situation, so he moved in with Amy and I pretty quickly. I think it was after about a month of dating. So we have our room and she has her own room. The bills went from 50-50 to 33/33/34 to make sure things were still even. We had a shared kitchen, LR, and bathroom. After Tom moved in, she started openly hitting on him in front of me. Every guy I had at my house, even just friends, she had to hit on. None of them ever took her up on it. Every single one turned her down, and I think this added greatly to her oncoming behavior. Over the next couple of weeks, Amy did a complete 180. She stopped paying rent, refused to buy any food, and would just eat whatever Tom and I bought, would not wash her dishes. We had 2 cats, one hers and one mine, and she would never clean the litter in her room, so her cat would use our hallway floor as a bathroom every single day. Every day when I got home from work, there was a big steaming pile of cat shit right inside my front door, sitting in the middle of a giant puddle of urine. My cat was locked in my room at night with her own supplies, so there was 0 chance it was her. It was the same thing every morning by the front door. Whenever she was done eating the food she stole from me, she would set her plate with the leftovers on the kitchen floor for her cat to pick at. She would leave the plate there for days, to the point that if I didn't pick them up, there would be multiple plates on the floor with food in various stages of decay. All of my dishes started going missing, except for the cat's plates, of course. And what dishes were left, she refused to wash ever. She used my toilet paper, my laundry soap, even my tampons. This went on for about 2 months, and it just kept getting progressively worse. She would use panty liners every day, and would change them multiple times a day, and stuff them in the garbage can in the bathroom. She would leave it there completely overflowing and spilling onto the floor for days until I caved and put on gloves and threw them out. The can would be full in about a week, so this happened a few times. That's not even the worst of it. My expensive DSLR went missing. I was a photography hobbyist at the time, but it was my dream to be a professional photographer and own my own photography business. I would shoot stuff for friends and family as practice, and one day I grabbed my camera bag from the shared living room, and as soon as I picked it up, I felt my heart sink into my stomach. You know that instant dread that grips you the second you realize something truly gut-wrenching has happened? I opened the bag, and of course the camera is gone. That was an expensive camera for that time of my life, and it was a gift from my parents, so I was truly devastated. I couldn't prove a thing, and I wasn't even sure how long it had been missing. It could have been her BF that took it, but either way it was gone. So now this is it. This is the last straw. I need this bitch out. I went from nice girl to fucking psycho in about 30 seconds. I'm not the violent type and I hate confrontation, I'm not waiting for a fucking eviction to go through, and I really didn't have the money for that anyway, so here's where I start my petty revenge. Amy wants to live here with me rent-free, stealing my shit, hitting on my boyfriend, and neglecting her cat. So be it. But it's going to be on my fucking terms. One vital piece of information. In my divorce, the dickhead moved back in with mommy, and I took everything from the house to my new apartment, so I owned everything, and the lease was in my name. I started by changing the Wi-Fi password and the computer password. The following week, I had my cable company come and remove the cable lines to her room. I bought a small fridge for my room and a cabinet, and put all my food and personal supplies in my bedroom and put a secure lock on my door. I hid my pots and pans. I locked up the soap and toilet paper. The cabinets were empty. I paid for it all, and I would be the only one using it. When her cat shit on the floor, I would pick it up and smear it on her bedroom doorknob. Overflowing bathroom trash cans filled to the brim with her panty liners were dumped on her bed. I removed the knobs to the washer and the dryer. I did everything possible to make her life uncomfortable. I did other small stuff. Anything that came to mind. A few months prior, Amy and I had been working at the same store, and she borrowed another coworker's laptop. She ended up getting fired, but she never gave the laptop back, and the coworker was really trying to get it back from her. Amy ghosted her, of course, so while she was out one day, I went in and took the laptop and gave it back to its rightful owner. Amy called the cops on me and said I stole her computer, but I explained what happened. She admitted to the cops that the computer wasn't hers, and the cops said it wasn't their problem anymore. That one really made her hate me. She wasn't working at the time, so it's not like she had money to do anything or buy anything. She was literally just existing in room in my apartment. She would disappear during the day, but I have no idea where she was going. She moved out after about 6 weeks. When she moved out of my apartment, I didn't even know she had left. I just noticed she wasn't coming or going for about a week. So Tom and I cleaned out her room. She left clothes, broken furniture, a cardboard dresser, and 5 39-gallon garbage bags of trash we collected from the mass piles of panty liners, rotting food, and ordinary trash we found in the room. It's a miracle we didn't have roaches. I found all my missing dishes, silverware, and cups all covered in food and grossness. I just threw it all away. I wish I still had the photos, though. Oddly enough, about 6 months later, I opened my back door to take out the trash and my camera was in a bag hanging from my doorknob. I know Amy definitely didn't return it. For about 2 years after, every time I would find out that Amy was living with someone new, I would message them and send them the photos of her room, papers in the trash that had her name on them, and I would tell them the whole story. One time it caused the people she was living with to throw her shit out on the porch. She had just moved in, and they had small kids, and they didn't want to risk it with her. I stopped after that. She knew it was me telling them too, so I figured I had sufficiently made my point. Sorry, I'm fat. Have 2 stories today that have me feeling low yet victorious. I have birthed 2 large babies, my first in 2018, almost 8 pounds, and my second in 2020, almost 9 pounds. Add in COVID, my oldest, who was adopted, and a foster kiddo for a while. Needless to say, I've had trouble losing weight and reducing my mom pooch. But I've been working on it pretty hard the past few months, and I'm now noticing that a lot of my clothes are getting looser. I decided to reward myself by getting some new clothes that fit better. At one store, I was simply looking at some clothes when I overheard a guy say, "Man, why do people look at skimpy clothes when they clearly don't have the body for it?" I subtly sneak a peek and I see him giving angry looks at me. I'm the only other person in this section other than I'm assuming his wife. Now, not trying to body shame, but this guy had no room to be talking. He was over here looking like Winnie the Pooh with several inches of his massive stomach on display. I sweetly turned to him and said, "I popped out 2 big babies. What's your stomach's excuse?" His wife just about died laughing as this guy turned purple. Later at another store trying on some dresses. It's one of those stores where they have a mirror in the dressing room, but have the better multi-sided mirror and better light outside of the dressing room. I popped out to check myself in the better mirror when a woman came over excitedly and said, "Oh, congrats on the baby." I was obviously not thrilled because it is a bit of a sore spot with me that I do still look pregnant after all this time. But instead I just said, "Thanks." She was born in 2020. The woman's face fell, and she scampered off. Moral of the stories: keep your mouth shut about other people's bodies. Don't insult my engagement ring. My fiancé and I had been dating for 4.5 years. In that time, we have bought a house together, adopted doggies together. I put him through pharmacy school, med school, and lots of people don't realize that pharmacists get their doctorates or how competitive pharmacy can be, and we fell even more in love. He's an amazing man and I'm crazy about him. Imagine my excitement that after braving all of the ups and downs and watching life unfold as a team, that he proposed. I was overjoyed and through tears of happiness I said yes. And of course our doggies were involved. It's a larger, slightly blush pink, amethyst stone with a halo of topaz around it set in rose gold. I loved it. It was perfect. The next day, I was attending a baby shower for my best friend in my hometown. I trekked my way there, and even though I tried to downplay the engagement because I wanted it to be about her, she made a mini announcement because I knew people who were there. Most people did a little congrats type thing, which was nice, except for her cousin. This girl, let's call her Amy, is super religious. Actually, everyone from my hometown is super religious, and I appreciate their faith, but I didn't like her judgment. She has voiced her opinions before about how people shouldn't live together unless they're married and all that jazz. So when she sauntered over, she took my hand in hers and scrutinized the ring. She more or less said that at least he was making an honest woman out of me and that he had taken too long to propose. Then she kind of scrunched her nose at my ring and asked what kind of stone it was, with a little, snobby, half-smile on her face. She also said that it was generic that he would ask me now that he's graduating because that's what everyone does. I don't know what came over me. I love my ring and I've never been this mean girl, but I've known Amy for a while and she's always been like this. She likes to say what terrible decisions other people have made and how she always puts Jesus first. So that's why her life has turned out so well. She says it's because she has followed his plan, which ultimately led to her getting married ridiculously young to a guy who really isn't good for her at all and just leeches off of her. She had to put herself through school and work while he would go on long stints out of the country to find himself and follow God's path, which I really think meant bang other women. She married him in the middle of a college year before one of the times he left. I suspect to entice him to come back and have commitments here. Well, I went for it. I said, oh. He waited until he knew he could provide for me. It's a pink diamond. Her whole face changed from smug to envious. She practically threw my hand down and mumbled how happy she was for me. I looked up how big my petty lie had been later, only to find out that yes, pink diamonds are actually a thing, and the teeny ones are like $10,000. But hey, she doesn't have to know how poor we are. Laughing face, we are rich with unconditional love and loyalty, and that's why I'm happy to call him my future husband. Examples of how I've gotten petty revenge as a chef. I'll start by saying I take my career and food safety very seriously. Even if I was livid over a customer, I would never do anything gross, dirty, harmful, etc. to their food, and I would shut down someone else trying to. I prefer my revenge to be petty, but noticed. The restaurant I work in is located in an upscale area. As a result, our customer base is full of entitled, elitist, insufferable people most days. If you have a problem with your food, that's fine. But if you're an asshole or being petty, you'll get served by Chef Petty, the king of petty. The crouton debacle. This pair of older women came in, were immediately rude to the hostess and server from what I was told. So the server came to give me a heads up that they seem like a problem. Sure enough, they each start with a Caesar salad and send it right back. Their reason? Some of the croutons were big and some were small, and they'd like croutons that were all roughly the same size. Heard. I put the new salads in the window. One had equal-sized very large croutons. One had equal-sized very small croutons, like smaller than a sugar cube. Apparently they learned not to be petty because they shut up and ate them. In a pickle over pickles. We had a gentleman come in and order one of our burgers. He said extra, extra, extra pickles. We normally do 3, so each extra was 3 more, 12 total. When it went to his table, he said he wanted more. I gave him 3 more. He sent it back. At this point, it was time to shut this shit down. I took off all the pickles and scooped through the pickle bucket to find 20 to 25 of the smallest slices I could find. All about dime-sized. Loaded his burger up, and it didn't come back. For reference, His original 12 pickle order was more than these 20 to 25 pickles. Could I get some more onions? This regular always comes in and orders her burger with an obnoxious amount of onions. Normally we do 2 rings. She always initially asks for about 30.
No bullshit.
Then proceeds to send the server back 3 to 4 more times for a small plate of about 15 more. It's disgusting. One day, we were busier than usual when she tried to pull this. Rather than have to keep stopping to accommodate her, I took the biggest red onion we had, pushed it through the slicer, didn't separate the rings, and put the entire onion on her plate. The server laughed her ass off when the lady left, because she didn't touch any of the onion. Apparently, she took great joy in making the server run back and forth, and that was a buzzkill for her. What am I supposed to do with this? We had a regular nightly customer place the same order for pickup 15 minutes before close every night for 4 months straight. We hated her, because she treated all staff she dealt with like shit, made ridiculous demands, then no matter what, would send it all back to be refired even though nothing was ever wrong with the order. One particular thing she'd do is order 6 shrimp pasta dishes, and request 3 additional portions of shrimp for each one. But she didn't want the shrimp on top like it comes. She wanted it on the side. No big deal, other than how she wanted it. She didn't want it all together. She didn't even want the 4 total portions for each order together. Nope. She wanted each of the 4 portions for each of the 6 orders separately packaged. That takes a long-ass time to do, way more than necessary, all because she gets off on being difficult. So I wasn't having it one night. We knew she was coming, so all total I knew I needed 288 shrimp, which she got, individually packaged in 288 ramekins. She was pissed. She said, "What am I supposed to do with this?" GM said, "Make sure they're all there." So she proceeded to count 288 ramekins as I watched from the kitchen with a grin. After that, she had no problem allowing us to start packaging it the way it was made to be, and even started tipping. They eventually stopped coming. Wins all the way around. I locked my Aldi cart to another person's cart inside the store. I was at Aldi, and there was a woman shopping by herself with a rather full cart. My first encounter, she had her cart sideways blocking most of the aisle, standing against one side and looking at food on the other side. I make my way past her, and of course as soon as I'm close, she steps forward to get the food she was looking at. I politely do the, "Oops, excuse me," and wait to pass. Not even bothered yet, whatever. It happens all the time. Second time, I'm pushing my cart along the outside, and she's about to pull in front of me. I can see it. She half goes without looking, but hesitates, and I stop because I think she's about to, but then she doesn't, so I start to go, and then she hesitates again and pushes right in front of me. I roll my eyes. The third time I see her, she parks it totally sideways and blocking the whole aisle between those island freezers and the wall. She leaves it unattended and goes to get something else. So in the middle of grumbling and reaching to move it, I instead put her latch into my cart, leave my 3 to 4 items, take my quarter back, and scurry off to get a new cart. I don't think she had another quarter, as I saw her trying to push both awkwardly at the same time in different directions to the checkout.